Hey guys, so today you and I are going to talk about seniors and mid-levels. So let's get into it. So the question in question was, Frederick, what skills do a senior developer actually have over an intermediary or mid-level developer? Experience, usually. Not always. In some cases, it's not down to something as simple as experience, but that's usually the thing that matters. In terms of the difference between a mid-level and a senior developer, a lot of people may think that there's this huge gap, and it's usually not the case. I will go as far as to say that if you've been working for around 5 years ish, something like that, and you start working with someone who's been working for 10 years or 15 years or even 20 years or maybe even more than that, you have like the difference between you may not actually be all that great, because it all comes down to the quality of the years. As I've said a few times before, quality years outweigh quantity every single day of the week. If you have, and this is usually how it goes, you have a person who starts working as a software developer, and the first 5 years is roughly the time it takes for them to get down the daily grind, how to learn how to do all the things that they need and to sort of talk with stakeholders. But then the rest comes down to their personal ambition levels and their personal social skills and all of this sort of stuff. I've worked with several developers who have a difference in years that is measured in decades in some cases, and the output of the code of this person who has a lot of have tons and tons of years and the output of the one that has just a few years, like the difference isn't all that great once you get to a certain point, because there's only so much that you can learn from just doing the regular job. If you want to get even better than that, you're going to have to push it, and there's not that many. You may think that that is the norm, but it's actually not. It's not that many developers who are sitting, even when they're like, say, 5, 10, 20 years into their career, on the weekends and learning new things and like pushing and doing this stuff. Usually they get complacent at some point. Everybody does, to a certain degree. You may not think it if you're just starting out, because now everything is super new and trendy to you and you're still hungry, but you will not always feel that way. 10 years down the road, I promise you, when everything is boring and already know the quote-unquote best way of doing everything, you're not going to feel as motivated anymore to push things, because these days, every single blog article you're reading, if you're sort of fresh, is going to have some new nugget of insight, some new knowledge or something like that. Try it after you've been doing this for 15 years. Then finding anything that is even remotely interesting to listen to becomes a bit of a struggle. And what I can tell you is that apart from that, the the differences can vary. They don't really vary all that much. It really does come down to experience and, of course, what you have been doing. If you're a senior developer and you've been doing, say, application development, like standard application development for many years, and you all of a sudden you're going to go in and become a DevOps engineer, well, then the person who has been doing it just for even the junior developer is going to be able to outdo you. You're going to have to put on the student hat and go and ask for help from that 20-something person who's been like doing exclusively that stuff for maybe 1 or 2 years or whatever, but they still have more knowledge in that area than you do. And that's the thing. Guys, I want you to understand that senior does not mean godlike, all-knowing person. It means that in something within a enormous industry where there are literally so many things that you need to know that you could spend the rest of your life trying to learn everything and you still won't master it, this person has, in a small window of that total, worked longer, and most likely, if they've been playing their cards right, they will know this stuff fairly well. That doesn't mean that they have a bunch of skills that someone who does the exact same thing won't have after more years. It comes down to either how broad they are or how much have they been pushing themselves. Have they gone like the extra mile within that area? So the real answer to this question is that the difference between a mid-level developer and a really senior developer it will vary so much. In many cases, you won't even be able to tell the difference on the output. You might be able to tell it if you talk to them, or like you listen to their value systems and so forth, and you get to know them a little bit, because the senior developers are, as I said, they're usually more experienced. But I know I know several situations where that is not actually the case. They are senior, you can hear that they've been doing things for a long time, but you can also hear that they have other priorities in life. They became complacent many years ago, and they are not actually as up to date anymore, and they're not as skilled as some of the younger profiles, because those younger profiles have been hungry for to the point where they've actually acquired knowledge that senior who's been kind of half-assing it or not going on full throttle they haven't been doing all of that stuff. So that's my favorite analogy is fitness. If you work out sort of for many years, that's not going to bring you to that's not going to make you all that fit. But if you work out really, really hard, even if you don't work out for as long, you're going to see an improvement that the person who's half-assing it won't see. So what I want you to take away from this is that the actual skill difference between a mid-level developer and a really senior developer can vary a lot. The really good seniors who really push it and go for really go to the top notch, the differences between them and the intermediate ones is usually measured in experience. How well do they talk to stakeholders? How good are they at architecture? How good are they at predicting issues and pain points, and how can they administrate people? Do they know what is required in order to deliver on the product? Can they make stakeholders understand technical visions? Do they know how to set up the right processes? All of this administrative work, architecture, big picture type of stuff, they usually have in droves if they're really good at that stuff. And in some cases, they're just really, really awesome at every little fucking detail around something that they've been working on for the longest time. But that's not always true. In many cases, they're just average people who've been doing something for a very long time, but they haven't really been pushing it. And in that case, the mid-level developers and the seniors, they're pretty much at the same level. And in some cases, the less experienced profile is actually knowledgeable in many things that the senior is not, because IT is fucking massive, guys, and no senior knows all of it. Just being senior doesn't mean that you know everything that someone with less experience, that you know a lot of stuff. It just means that you've been doing something, whatever that might have been, for a certain amount of time. And if you need to learn something that you haven't been studying for all that time, you're going to be a junior again. Congratulations. Have a great day.